Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Life and Times of Crazy Patrick. I haven't done a video in a while, and I'm sorry about that, but I've been, fighting with my insurance, trying to get my Octrio scan approved. Finally got that done. Finally went to the hospital Wednesday, and they injected me with this radioactive substance. It's very expensive and has a fairly short shelf life. So they injected me on Wednesday. I went back the next day on Thursday, and they have this. It's great big square, looks like an X-ray plate that's above you, and there's one below the table. And I asked the nurse or whoever, a tech or whatever you would call them that does that kind of thing, how that, is it like an X-ray machine or is it magnetic? And he says, no. He says, you're admitting gamma rays are coming off you. And those gamma rays, this machine is making a picture of my entire body from the gamma rays that are coming off my body. So on Thursday, this thing comes down, great big square thing, and it comes down like this close to your nose, and you got to lay still on the table, and it comes way down there, and it takes about maybe 35 minutes, the first scan, and they scan you all the way from the top of your head all the way down, and then they bring it back up, and then it, from your top of your neck down, half of your body, it goes around your body, and it takes 35 minutes for it to go around your body. And so they did that on Thursday, and then Friday I go back, and they scan you from head to toe, and then bring it back up and do the bottom half of your body all the way around your body. So it takes a little over an hour each time to get scanned, and you can see once this thing gets past your head, there's a screen up there, and it's got a timer on it, so you can see what the time is, and you can see all these little lights that are making this picture. That's these gamma rays that are coming off your body. So I talked to this tech, and I asked him, I said, I have a little cat that sleeps right beside me at night. She lays right up beside me. And he goes, no, you don't want to do that. You want to, because those gamma rays will be penetrating her all night long like an X-ray or worse. So there was no way I could sleep in the house. Thank God I have my Class C 27-foot Jayco 1993 RV that's like brand new, sitting in my driveway with all the comforts of home. So I just been staying out here since Wednesday, and I try to stay away from my wife as much as possible. I go in the morning. I haven't worked since Wednesday. I haven't had to work. I've had all this time off, so I've had a long weekend, but my next paycheck's going to suck. So I think I only have 4 days on it. From the week before, I had 2 days, and then last week I had 2 days. So that's going to suck pretty big, but this next week I got a full schedule, except Tuesday. I have an appointment with my oncologist who will have the results of my Octrio scan, and we'll know about that spot in my right lung and the 2 spots in my liver, and see if it's spread anyplace else, the lymph glands or anything like that from this Octrio scan. And then we'll know how to start treating this stuff. But lo and behold, my daughter was diagnosed with the exact same kind of cancer about 2011 or 2012. But it's a neuro something or another, I can't even pronounce it. Metastatic carcinoma. But hers was in her pancreas, and it's not like the pancreatic cancer that'll kill you in 6 months. She's been living with this since 2011 or 2012. She's been taking stuff to keep it from getting worse or spreading and trying to kill it. But because it's in her pancreas, the way they found it on her was she was having trouble with her blood sugar, and diabetes runs on my mother's side of the family. So she was thinking that she had diabetes, but that's not what she had. It was 3 tumors in her pancreas, 3 small tumors. And so it's been under control, but she does have to take insulin now because it shut her pancreas off just like if she had diabetes. But she would have never known that she had it if she hadn't had problems with her blood sugar. So now here I am. If I hadn't had a disc herniate in my back, I would have never known that I had this. And because of the MRI, they found it down by my tailbone. 2 lesions, did the biopsy. You've heard this if you watch my channel. If you haven't been watching my channel, this is how they found it. Did the biopsy, and it was this neuro something or another metastatic carcinoma. So they'll put that picture on the first of my video when I post this, because I rub my nose. So they'll put that up there. So be watching for that. So anyway, they found that in my back that way. It's like God sent, God was looking out for me. I don't care if you believe in God or not. I do. If you believe in some other higher power, or you don't believe in any of it, that's perfectly okay for you. I don't have a religious channel, but I do believe in God. And I believe in heaven and hell. So that's just the way it is. I'm not going to dwell on it. But I believe God was looking out for me and going, hey, you got a problem. Otherwise, I would have never known that I had cancer until my liver affected me to the point I was sick, or my lung affected me to the point I was sick, or some other organ in my body. And so my daughter has an oncologist in Denver, and the type of cancer that we have, this neuro something or another, is so rare that there's only like 12,000 cases a year in the world. And then talking to her oncologist, it's extremely rare for a father and daughter to have the same thing. But mine is spread. So now I'm thinking of who had cancer in my family? Well, my father's dad, my grandfather, he had cancer in his throat, in his they had to remove his larynx. And when he died, he was in the hospital for cancer, but he didn't die from the cancer. He had a heart attack, and that's what killed him while he was in the hospital. And so then my father's brother, my Uncle Bob, he had 2 sons, Bobby and Danny. Bobby was the oldest, Danny's the youngest, and Bobby ended up dying from lung cancer, and it hadn't spread anywhere, but it was in his lung. And then Danny had colon cancer that ended up spreading to his liver, to his lung, to his brain. And he suffered with this for years. It was a slow-growing cancer, but it was traveling in his body like it has in mine. So I believe that we all had this, and it's in our genes. It's genetic is where it came from. So now, back when my grandfather, it was just cancer. They didn't have the treatments they have now, and he lived with it for a long time. Except he had his larynx removed, and he had one of those things that you'd wear, but he sounded like a robot. and he didn't like that, so he just clicked at you like, and you knew what he was, you learned by his clicks what he was trying to tell you. I remember that. I was only 3 or 4 years old with my grandfather. I'll even tell you a funny story that happened. I remember this like it happened yesterday. I think I was probably 4 years old. My parents were very poor. We had a one-bedroom house. My grandfather had a little tiny house that was set up in our backyard. We had a big lot. So this was set up back there, and codes back then, they didn't worry about it. He had propane heat, he had propane to cook on. He'd come in the house and use our bathroom, but he had this little house back there. And television came out. It was brand spanking new. Had this, I remember it was a square box, about this big a screen, and a long box. And it didn't have a very big screen on it, but you could see it. And they had, I think it was Gillette sponsored it, the razor people, and it was Friday night at the fights. And my family were all fighters, and they loved boxing. So I remember my dad and my grandfather was in the living room, and it was just a one-bedroom house. We had one bedroom that just was off the living room, a kitchen, and one bathroom. And I remember, like a little kid would do, I stayed back in that bedroom, and I plotted just how I was going to do this. My grandfather had been teaching me how to box and how to hit and all this stuff, and I was 4 years old. My grandfather, he was having fun with me, teaching me how to hit. So I stayed back in the bedroom plotting this out exactly the way I was going to do it. I remember it like it happened yesterday. And my grandfather, that TV screen, you had to lean up there to see it good. So he's all leaning up like this with his knees down here, and he's like this, like this, watching the fights, and my dad was down there, And so I plotted how I was going to come out there, and I was going to hit my grandfather. And I came out there, and he was so enthralled in that fight, watching what was going, and I hauled off as hard as I could, and I hit him right in the nose. And his eyes started watering. I didn't bloody his nose, but it hurt. I know it hurt. And anybody else probably would have taken me back and spanked my ass, for doing that. But my grandfather, he looked at my dad and he says, "Buck, I'm going to have to quit teaching that kid how to fight." He said, "That really hurt." He had tears running. And so I just wanted to throw that in there. That's a story I remember of my grandfather that died from cancer. And he was quite the guy. He'd take me out to his little house, and he'd make me the best peanut butter and jelly sandwiches you ever tasted in your life. And I don't know what he did to them, because I can't make one myself today that tasted as good as that. Maybe it was just because my grandfather was making them for me, but I loved him dearly, and I know he loved me. And so anyway, my cousin Danny died of cancer, my cousin Bobby died of cancer, and now my daughter has it and I have it. So now with that high-tech stuff, and they figured out what this stuff is, and it is genetic. I don't know. My mouth won't work now. It's genetic, and it's passed down. And there is a blood test now for it. And so I let my son know. I contacted my cousin in Colorado. Well, she's now living in over by Phoenix, Arizona. I contacted her so she could get the blood test. Her daughter could get the blood test, and she could let the rest of the family know. Because Danny had 2 sons and a daughter. Bobby had a couple kids. And so those people need to know, to get this blood test, because this stuff grows so slow, and it can spread so fast that before you know, you're sick, and it might be too late to save you by the time they find it, like my cousin Danny, and my cousin Bobby. So I thought I'd let them know. So anyway, folks, anybody that has a problem and it's called neuro something, you need to let your family know, because it's genetic, and so your relatives really need to know so that they can get this blood test and they can be checked regularly to make sure that they don't have any tumors anywhere that's going to bother them, and catch it before it spreads. Because if it was just what I had in my back, my oncologist has already told me that if it was just what I had in my back, that my chances of dying from that would be about like getting hit by a truck or getting struck by lightning. I would die before that ever killed me. But it spread from someplace else, so that's what we had to find out, what this someplace else is. So folks, I know I'm rattling on, and I haven't talked to you for a long time, and I'm hanging out in my man cave. My doctor hasn't told me I had to quit drinking beer. I just don't drink very many. I drink, 3 or 4, and that's enough. So I have a little taste of that right there, because I was starting to get a little dry. I'm still smoking my cigarettes. I figure, what the hell, by now, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die anyway. But, the one good thing about this cancer that I have, and the way that I found out, a lot of people, they just up and die. You have a heart attack, you get killed in a car wreck, something happens like that, and I believe in, like I told you, I believe in God, I believe in heaven and hell, I believe in Jesus Christ, and He's my personal Savior, and I didn't live a good life, folks. I was mean to a lot of people. I hurt a lot of people in my life, different ways, and I'm really sorry for that. Anybody that I ever hurt, if they ever watch my channel, I really, heartfelt, this is from the gut, that I am truly sorry if I ever hurt you, if I ever hurt anybody. There's people that I'm contacting right now that I know I can get a hold of, and I'm apologizing. But finding out like this, it gives you time to make peace with your whatever power you believe in. I believe in God, so I get to make peace with God. And, I believe in heaven and hell. And I darn sure don't want to go to hell. So I believe I know where I'm going. I've made peace with my Maker. And the one thing about this now, since I've made peace with my Maker, I'm more scared of living than I am of dying. I'm more scared about the treatment for this and how sick I'm going to get. I expect to win this battle some way and live for a good long time. But you never know. But like I say, I'm more scared of living now than I am of dying. I know where I'm going. So I don't want to make this a religious channel. That's not my point. It's just my personal feeling. If you believe in Allah, or you don't believe in anything, or you believe in Buddhism, I don't care. It's none of my business. I do me and you do you. And this is not going to be a religious channel. But I am going to close this now. And I'm going to tell you to have a good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. If they do, pick up a shoe and beat them till they're black and blue, and I'll catch you on the flip-flop. And y'all have a great rest of your evening, folks. I won't bore you any longer. Good night.